I'd like to officially welcome you all to our general body meeting and to all of our guests and senators who are tuning in online. As a reminder to any guests and those online, for our bylaws, only staff senators who are present in person are allowed to speak during our staff Senate general body meetings unless invited by the executive committee. We're going to call this meeting to order at 1 after 3. And want to remind everybody of our purpose. That we're creating an open forum to facilitate communication. We want to engage staff, explore solutions, promote a positive campus climate, participate in service work, propose and support programs, and be a vehicle not to address individual concerns, but problem solve for the campus as a whole. Want to now ask about roll call and attendance. Attendance been taken by our secretary. Thank you so much. And from our parliamentarian, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Wonderful. Awesome. Next is approval of minutes. Jessica sent out the minutes from our last month, November. All senators should have reviewed those minutes. Are there any additions or revisions from last month's minutes that anyone had? All right. Is there a motion to approve November's minutes? All right, Senator Dotter. Is there a second? All right, Senator Cox, thank you. All those in favor of approving November's minutes, say aye. Any opposed? Awesome. Then the minutes pass. Our agenda for today are staff Senate officer reports. We'll have our guest speakers, committee reports, announcements, go to the order, and then adjournment. I want to start first by sharing my report with some information, opportunities, and of course, celebrations. First of all, I hope many of you will consider thinking about and planning now for an executive committee position for the 26-27 staff Senate term. Open positions will be vice president, secretary, treasurer, and parliamentarian, or anyone who chooses to run. More information will come in January. This is just a little preview, so I really would like you to be thinking about that. There will also be an information session for those considering a position in later January, where there'll be Q&A with those who currently hold the office, who can talk more about the role and what is expected with that. And I'm sure membership will have a little bit more for us on that, just a little preview for information's sake. Upcoming general body speakers, January, we'll hear from Wellbeing, the Employee Wellbeing Director, to tell us more about offerings, especially the vision for the new year, as well as the pretty new Director of Community Engagement, Dr. Teresa Harrison, about how we can all be engaged in the community. And then, of course, in February, we hope to welcome our USC President, Michaela. So we'll have more about that soon. Opportunities. Registration is still open for the annual MLK breakfast. When we send something out as a reminder of everything that happened in this meeting for your constituents, I'll send the actual link so that you can go to the website. This is a wonderful opportunity for all senators in January. The breakfast is January the 17th. All the information is there, so you have to RSVP, but everyone is welcome. So please think about this opportunity for you and your constituents. Also, as always, our Community Projects Committee will tell you a little bit more about this as they speak to us a little later, but there are many opportunities now to continue to serve if you choose to. One is with the community shop, especially now as students are leaving campus while they're still open. They really need some help if you have some time, even if it's just for 45 minutes during a lunch hour. And then there will be some wrapping opportunities for toys, Toys for Tots, some other activities that you can volunteer for that the community projects team will talk a little bit more about, but there's ample opportunities. Celebrations. Want to commend our first annual cornhole tournament. Woo! Look, rousing success from our scholarship committee. And so thank you for everyone who participated in the planning and execution of that. We really appreciate everything. It was a fun time to be had. We've also learned a great deal for future iterations of this. So super, super excited. As far as staff senator shout outs, as I mentioned in our last meeting, we want to recognize those individuals who have gone above and beyond, and we have quite a few that have come through this time. First is Stephanie Richards for leading the bylaw revisions of staff senate committee descriptions. Shout out to Stephanie. And more to come on that. Katie Annan for organizing a meeting with the University of Kentucky Staff Senate to discuss membership and best practices. That went really, really well. To Dorenzo Thomas, who organized and led the December Community Project's trash pickup and is using his connections to further the work. And to Pam Lawson, who launched a new training titled Policy to Practice Conducting Staff Searches with Confidence. Amazing. Good job. And then I also want to shout out the entire Scholarship and Fundraising Committee, Savannah, Terrence, Ashley, Storm, Michaela, and Amanda for their work with this. They deserve a round of applause for their amazing. And I want to also shout out Janelle, who showed up to help and support. And so we appreciate that too. You're awesome. It's not go unnoticed. And last but not least, we still have our Staff Senate Appreciation Station in the front where you can get a Staff Senate card to send to one of your colleagues who's doing great work. Remember, they don't have to be part of Staff Senate. It's just you're recognizing them in your role for doing great work. So please help yourself. I'll mention this each time because not only now, but really now, raise up those individuals who are doing some great things because I think anybody could use a boost. And so you can do that electronically through HR as always, but also a handwritten card. So please consider that. Because we want to continue to connect, empower, and lead. Remember our theme for this year. Treasurer's report, I invite Amanda up, who will share news of our finances.
Hello. Hey, folks, no new business. Info, no new business. Foundations, we make money. Scholarship and fundraising, we appreciate it. So we spent $230 for the field rental. We made $445. So we are in the green. We're doing good. Yay, yay. And then we are also working on formalizing a process to be able to request funds. So if you have any thoughts or strong feelings or comments or concerns or complaints or jokes, always jokes, go ahead and send me an email. I'm looking for any opinions on what a formalized process would look like and what you guys would need a formalized process to look like. So that's okay.
Awesome. Thank you. And just to that, one of the pieces that the executive committee is wrestling with is we don't have a lot of formalized, memorialized processes. So if your committee wanted to request some funds to do something, how would one do that? And where does it go? And what is the time frame and things of that nature? So what we'd like to do is have some processes in place that can go from year to year. And of course, be flexible enough and nimble to change, but we have something written down so everybody knows the expectation and what is there. So if you have any ideas about this one, please let Amanda know. Awesome. Thank you. It is my pleasure now to introduce our first guest speaker. And I also want to publicly thank him and his organization, the Alumni Association, for supporting our cornhole tournament. They supplied all of our snacks and drinks. And so we appreciate them. We would not have done it without them. But without further ado, to tell us a little bit about the organization and how we can be a part, this is Jared Evans, the Chief Experience Officer.
Appreciate it. How's everybody doing? Good. Well, thank you all so much for having us. Myself and my colleague, Laura Bundrick, we came and spoke to the group last fall. So appreciate y'all being kind enough to have us back. I've just got a really short presentation. I do not expect this to take 20 minutes. Want it to be super informal, but it's just a high level overview. So if y'all have any questions, don't hesitate. Just yell at me and I'll stop and I'll answer any questions you have. So the USC Alumni Association, so we support nearly 300,000 alumni of USC Columbia. That is our primary focus. But our mission is fostering lifelong connections, growth, and success for our alumni, students, and the broader USC community. You can see here our leadership team. Tiffany Foxworth is our CEO. All in between all staff, we have around 21 employees, and that is a mix between full-time and part-time employees. But we have a fantastic team with the Alumni Association and are growing. We actually have a director of communications position that's currently open. So if you know of anybody that would be good, feel free to share that with them. Big picture. Okay, so we are a separate 501c3 affiliate organization of the university. So we do not fall under the university in terms of being a state entity. What that means is we are a self-governed alumni association, and there are multiple variations of how alumni associations around the country are structured, but we are self-governed, which means we have a board of governors led by our president, Mike Bond, and they are some incredible advocates and supporters of everything we as a team do on behalf of the association. We couldn't do it without their support, guidance, and leadership. Just some examples of our signature events, really get started in the fall sports preview. And then we really wrap it up at the end of the year with our annual golf tournament. A couple that aren't on there, Grad Fest is an event we have each fall and each spring to congratulate our newest class of graduates and alumni. And actually, we've got that coming up next Monday at the Alumni Center from 4 to 6. So if you're at commencement and want to swing by after for a good time, feel free to come by. But that'll be a great event. We'll have a really big crowd for that. And then one of the other events that we started doing in conjunction with graduation is called Tassels and Taps. So this Friday, we will be at the Golden Spur from 4 to 6. So feel free to swing by and check that out as well. But this, again, this is what we consider our signature events. We host a lot more events throughout the year. But these are the big ones. Homecoming weekend, obviously, that's, our Super Bowl weekend, if you will. So clubs and councils. We have 52 regional clubs. We actually just added our second international club in Hong Kong, which is really exciting. Our other international clubs in London, and they actually had a watch party for the A&M game. But in terms of United States, we added Hawaii recently. We added Cleveland. Cleveland was the other one we added. We could not do what we do as an association without our volunteers. They're essentially our frontline soldiers. They're out there in the community every day, representing the university, representing the Alumni Association, and between our clubs and our affinity councils, whether they're hosting watch parties, happy hours, service projects, scholarship fundraisers. They provide a lot of support in terms of scholarships that we're able to award to current and future students. But our 52 regional clubs and our 4 affinity councils, you see those right there at the bottom, they do a lot of work for us. And we're incredibly grateful for alumni who want to give back to the university and the association just from the standpoint of volunteering. Because they are engaging alumni weekly, if not more. So that's a very big priority for us as an association and continue to grow, specifically the regional clubs. The only 2 that I'll mention that aren't added or aren't on this slide is we do have interest groups. And so we have a USC band interest group as well as Carolina Life for those that may be interested in that. I just mentioned scholarships. So we award over $200,000 annually in scholarships. You'll see a couple of them here. One of the things we're really excited about this year is our Black Alumni Council every year for homecoming Friday morning. They have the Richard T. Gruner breakfast. And this year we were excited to announce that we now have the ability to fund 2 annual RTG scholarships every single year, which is great because that's a $2,000 annual scholarship, and that sticks with the student throughout their duration as a student on campus. So that was something we were really excited about. The BAC worked incredibly hard to earn the funds required to be able to award 2 moving forward next fall. Networking and professional development, that's also a top priority of the Alumni Association. We have a partnership with Career Services for the Mentorship Hub platform. Just this fall alone, we had over 500 alumni sign up to serve as mentors. And in terms of engagement, we saw over 7,000 touch points between mentors and current student mentees, which is 178% increase year over year from fall to fall, which is something we were very excited about. And again, it's just another great opportunity for alumni to get involved. in a way that doesn't cost you any money. It's just you and a student, and the platform itself functions really well. But that's something that we've always been very focused on and will continue to be focused on moving forward. We recently met with Career Services to start planning for next academic year, but very happy about that partnership and benefit it brings to current students. Our travel program, we have the Traveling Gamecocks. Tiffany actually was just on a trip in Canada last week with a big group of alumni. But this is a great program for us. We have a lot of alumni who use these trips as an opportunity to either connect with old friends, meet new friends, but you're traveling with Gamecocks to some really exciting places all over the country. I was very fortunate last December to attend a trip to Germany and Austria, and just getting that time with alumni and hearing all their stories. There was a group of ladies who literally met freshman year on campus, and that's just what they do every single year to catch up and stay in touch. So it's just a really great experience overall, and something that we're excited that we're able to provide to alumni through the travel partners that we have. We have our annual alumni awards, which are announced each year in conjunction with homecoming. What you see there is you have the Algernon Sidney Sullivan Award, the Distinguished Alumni Award, Outstanding Veteran, Honorary Life Member, Outstanding Black, and then Outstanding Young Alumni Award. And then we also have the Bethea Volunteer Service Award. That is not awarded every year. The other 6 are. But it's a great touch point for us to have with these phenomenal alumni who are doing fantastic things, both professionally and in the community. But to be able to bring them back, many of whom haven't been to campus in a long time, be able to bring them back and really just recognize them and congratulate them on all their hard work, something that's truly special for us. I know they really enjoy and appreciate the time they get with President Ambritas and other university leadership, as well as academic university leadership that attends our award luncheon each year. Student engagement, this is certainly a top priority of ours as well. Big picture, we don't want the first time students are hearing about the Alumni Association to be when they're walking across the stage at commencement. So last year, we spent a lot of time in just overhauling our entire student engagement strategy. Previously, we had the Student Alumni Association, but at the end of the day, there was effectively no value add to them or to us. And so we branded it as a Future Alumni Network. And for $40, students get a whole bunch of swag. And then I think the more important thing is they go ahead and become members of the Alumni Association. That way they can start taking advantage of member benefits. So while they're on campus as a student, they can start getting 20% off at Adams, which if you buy 2 polos, you've already made your money back. Or 20% off at the iHub, which is another great partner of ours. I saved $50 a couple of weeks ago on new AirPods. But the goal of that is get them involved, really increase brand awareness of the Alumni Association and our value prop to alumni, to students, so that once they graduate, they're more inclined to be involved and engaged as alumni, whether that's serving on a club board for one of our regional clubs or getting plugged into one of our affinity councils. So that approach this fall has gone really well, and really excited about the future opportunity and potential there. See Garnet Circle, they are our student leadership group who oversees all our traditions. The big one being ring ceremony. They have that entire event nailed down. They do a phenomenal job of orchestrating that event every fall, every spring. And then you'll see some of the other events I mentioned: Grad Fest, Tassels and Taps. We have our Scholars Brunch every fall in August, which is a great opportunity to engage with all our current students who are scholarship recipients. And then something new that was part of the student engagement strategy rebrand was we rolled out Future Alumni Month. And so this past November, we had 4 events, really great events geared towards December grads. come next spring, we'll do something very similar for our May grads. Membership. So one of the things that we were excited about last fall when we came and spoke to you is we have a specific staff faculty membership discount, and that has gone incredibly well. We've had just shy of 100 staff that have taken us up on that opportunity. But membership is key and critical to everything we do. Without membership, we wouldn't be able to provide a lot of the support that we do to our clubs, our councils, scholarships, other general events. But there's a lot of different benefits and perks to being a member in terms of just staying more involved, engaged. There's certainly that upside as well. And there's a couple of different types of membership. You can be an annual member, you can be a lifetime member. And then for our lifetime members who want to continue to make an impact, you have Lifetime Plus. One of the things that Laura worked incredibly hard with advancement services on, two things that happen simultaneously. For our annual members, we now have automatic renewal, which has been great. And then for our lifetime members, you can do monthly installment plans. So we've really lowered the barrier to entry, if you will, from a cost perspective. And also with Laura being here, if anyone has any questions about membership, I know she'd love to get with you after. But this is more specific on the faculty and staff offer. So for annual, $30 as opposed to $55. And then with lifetime, it's $200 off of a regular price of $900. And you'll see the website right there. But that's just a great opportunity if you're in any way interested in becoming a member and you're not. Again, I think, one of the things we've been very intentional about is growing the number of benefits and the perks that come with being a member. And again, that value prop, that value add for why you should want to become a member. One other thing I'll mention, the Pasadena Alumni Center officially turned 10 this past August. So despite being 10 years old, it doesn't look like it. Kevin Grindstaff and his team do a phenomenal job of making sure that stays a premium venue rental location in the Midlands. One of the things I want to share with y'all though is throughout the month of December, campus partners, if you book a rental that takes place prior to June 30th of 26, you'll receive a 15% off rental fee for that booking. And you can see the discount or the promo code right there, Pastides 26. And I've actually got a couple of flyers I can put on the front table as well, if you'd like to take those back to your office. We do have a lot of campus partners who use the Pasadena Alumni Center for meetings, events, what have you. Again, it's a beautiful facility, and Kevin and his team and our partner Southern Way, they do a phenomenal job of taking care of all of our customers and guests. And with that, I'm done. Anybody have any questions? All right. Great. Thank you.
We appreciate you and your colleagues and all that you do to continue to support staff on our campus. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce our next guest speaker. And if you're like me and sometimes you wander around campus and think, what is happening here? What are we building? What are we not building? What's going on? We brought the person who can tell us here. He is the university architect and associate vice president of facilities planning, design, and construction. And that is Mr. Derek Gruner.
Okay, well, thank you again for having me. I remember doing this a year ago and it was a lot of fun. And I wouldn't say a lot has changed, but a lot has progressed since then. The background, I'll try to just take about 20 minutes. So background of this is about 2 years ago, President Emery just suggested time for a new master plan. And boy, did this thing evolve into something ambitious. I will tell you, it really seeks to touch so many aspects of our campus. Now, for instance, this particular graphic here, all those buildings on our campus that are salmon colored or colored or shaded are touched in some way or another by this master plan. And those drivers are some of the overarching objectives of this master plan. The master plan that you're going to see today is really just excerpts, but these are some of the more exciting excerpts. Focus on student experience primarily, with faculty and researcher experience being second. So the benefit to us as staff is a little more indirect. But as Chris said, at least you're going to have a sense for what's coming, because I will stand here and swear to you that in 2027 and 2028, you're going to see more construction around the core of this campus than probably any of you have ever seen. It's actually a little bit terrifying, because I have to some of these buildings to be renovated have to be emptied out, and I'm trying to find swing space, and there is no swing space to put people, and it's just going to be it's going to take a lot of patience by a lot of folks. One of the, I think, most endearing ideas in this master plan that I give a lot of credit to the president was he wanted to invigorate the core of the campus, activate the core. What does that mean? That means more students living and learning and recreating in the core of the campus. So that starts to drive projects like the renovation of McKissick and Barnwell that I'm going to show you, and the redevelopment of the Burns site, which is that item number 1 up there. And I'm going to show you some ideas that we have for Main Street. What this master plan also suggests is there should be a parking and transportation master plan. That's a separate plan that Brian Favela in Parking and Transportation is working on right now with some really qualified planners, and I'm sure they'll get a chance probably to present that plan to you in the
He was here last time.
What's that?
He was here last time.
Okay,
So, yes.
all right. I really like working with Brian. And that's also, if you didn't pick up on that, that's also just a very intentional but soft way of saying, I'm not responsible for parking. Please don't beat me up. So I really do enjoy working with Brian. I think he's brought just some really great ideas and ingenuity to parking. I'm looking forward to that master plan being unveiled. So I'll start with Gibbs Green right here in the core of the campus. We all know that McKissick is one of our finest buildings on campus from an architectural perspective. It enjoys the top of the hill. It's the head of the horseshoe. It should be a building that is really relevant to the student experience. It's not. Students come here, they take the tour, they maybe come here as students, and for the next 4 years, they never go in this building again. And I decided I wanted to change that in the master plan. So this is a photograph from probably around 1939. Does anybody know what this building is here in the foreground left?
The old president.
Perfect, exactly. So you're looking, the old president's house used to be what was at the head of the horseshoe. So this is standing kind of a little bit in front of Rutledge, looking towards what became McKissick before the president's house was torn down in 1940. Very good. The concept for McKissick is to give it a strong presence on Gibbs Green, like what it has on the horseshoe side. So this image on the left, you almost can't even see the building anymore on Gibbs Green because of the overgrowth of magnolia trees. What we want to get to is what you see in the lower right, where the building has prominence, it has patios, we have students coming up and approaching the building and entering that building from that side, and make Gibbs Green a place that students don't just walk through, they actually recreate, they hang out there. Some other views there. What we're going to do is we're going to move the McKissick Museum temporarily out of the building, and we're not going to have galleries per se after the building's renovated, but what we're going to do is bring the art back into the buildings, and in place of the galleries, there's going to be academic classrooms. So students will be flooding this building by the hundreds, and they'll be exposed to the McKissick collection in cases and art that's going to be on the walls. But what this allows us to do is take a lot of windows that right now are blanked off, that you can't see out of, can't see in, and open them up to the best views on campus, Gibbs Green and the horseshoe. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just know that this renovation is comprehensive. It's replacing old mechanical systems, it's putting in a sprinkler system, it's addressing all these deferred maintenance needs, but it's also going to update the visitor center, which will remain. Of course, they'll move out for the renovation, then they'll move back in. But we're going to take the level that the galleries are on now and do about 7 classrooms, which is going to be seats for about 300 students, provide study space, an event space, and a classroom up on the uppermost level for hands-on learning of the McKissick collection objects. So this is a project, frankly, I've been thinking about for 10 years. We want to breathe some life into this building, and I couldn't be more excited about this one. Barnwell next. We'll also rejuvenate Gibbs Green. This one's really hard. Anyone notice something about Barnwell that doesn't match today? Well, that's true. When Gibbs Green was first done, it was just a wide open field. This is from around World War I when we had cadets. I don't think anyone's going to get this one, but the building burned in 1980, and they came back and added another story to the top, so it's now 5 floors. And they inserted a floor so that the floor levels don't line up with the windows. A terrible. Living with that, trying to bring in more natural light as part of this renovation. So there you see it today. And this is the story that wasn't in that last photograph. And a lot of these windows also don't allow any light to come out because the floor levels and the windows don't line up anymore. So another building that is underpopulated, dreary when you go in there. There's no natural light, very little views in a lot of places. We're going to put a lot of classrooms in this building and breathe in new life for the psychology department because we keep enrolling more students. We do need more classrooms. And similar to McKissick, this will get all new mechanical systems. It'll get a sprinkler system installed like it should have to meet code and all those kinds of capital renewal priorities. So as you can see, I like to weave in a little bit of history with these presentations. This drawing goes back to this idea from 1905 that Main Street from the Capitol down could be this grand boulevard, and there could be this boulevard that would tie across Sumter Street to the Horseshoe, which is right here. This is a site plan from 1927, and the reason I love this plan is one of the first drawings I've ever seen that starts to imagine the campus as a place full of trees, like an arboretum. And if you look closely, this is Gibbs Green. Some of these buildings were built this way and others were not. When this was done, Davis and Barnwell were here and Sloan, but other buildings really weren't built the way that this plan shows it. But I showed this as an example of how old ideas can kind of resurface and find their place in time. So as we started thinking about what we're going to do on South Main Street, so this is Main here, you have Ward Law here, and the Capitol is up where those 2 E's are in street. We want to make this connection back to the Horseshoe and strengthen College Street, just like that idea from 1905. So this is the burn site. We're exploring different uses. This concept would demolish the Burns building and come back with probably student housing, a lot of retail uses at the street level. We want to activate the street, and then other uses to be determined. In my defense, we are showing parking garages. They're kind of hidden, which is what they should be. But you'll drive under a pass through in the buildings to get to these. But what we see Main Street becoming is a place, instead of 1-story buildings and parking lots, it has to be intense mid-rise development to make this a really exciting place. There's a science and technology building planned here on this corner in front of the science and technology building here. This is what we're calling a STEM building. This building, the foundation owns most of this property, though not all of it yet. We see that as a place for market rate housing, student meeting space, more retail, and I want the kind of retail that'll make this street feel like a town center. I'm talking not just Chick-fil-A. Well, you have to have one, but and probably Starbucks, but barber shops, banks, post office, all those types of uses on the street level. Some of those would move out of the Russell House and make more room in the Russell House for other student needs like meeting space. So everything we do here has this ripple effect. There's consequential benefits on down the line. It's all part of the very intentional planning. So we all remember what Main Street used to be. This goes back years when it was Sandy's. Mm-hmm. And the street improvements have been completed. It's very hard to photograph this effectively, but for those of you, I'm sure that have seen this, we reduced the driving lanes, we added bike lanes, we increased the landscaping, we're widening the sidewalks. What's called a road diet it's sort of a term of art in urban planning. You're balancing the corridor to be not just for cars. Now it's better for pedestrians, cyclists, landscaping, burying power lines, and doing all those things. So one day get to something like this, 5- and 6-story buildings, and people out in the street. You could close the street for festivals. It's going to be really tremendous. But this is going to take 10 or 15 years to get to this. But you know, that idea from 1905 is already 120 years old, right? So another 10 or 15 years is not too bad to wait. The Campus Light District, part of this plan starts to focus on student housing, student recreation. So I think you all probably oriented here. You have Green Street and Russell House, and this is the Marion Street Promenade that goes on out to Campus Village and by Blott and Thomas Cooper. Big things are coming, and they're coming soon. So here you have a period picture of Thomas Cooper. Let's see, who notices something about this that's a little different than today? Anybody pick up on this? Okay, you notice that you're seeing through the building? You're seeing light through it. This was before the big 1970s addition was added. So this piece was built in 1959. It was a much smaller footprint with all this glass on both sides. So you could just see right through the building. Then in the 70s, when the big piece was added on the back and they went down 4 levels, you know, it just becomes a building now that you can't see through. But, oh, and I would have given you extra credit if anyone had noticed this. The entrance doors were actually at the far left end originally. They were not in the middle. I didn't know that myself until about a year or two ago. Never known that. So the idea here is something that a lot of universities are doing. The libraries are no longer places where students are going and checking out books. Sad as that might sound to book lovers, and I am one, but I have embraced the reality that the way students now are accessing knowledge is completely different than in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. The circulation is ridiculously low now. So the idea for this renovation is to try to move more of the books down to the lower levels and dedicate more of the upper levels where you have natural light to study and collaborative study, individual study, and move toward more of a look like this. This is not Thomas Cooper, obviously. It's just a fine example of what libraries are becoming. Unlike some of these other renovations I've been showing you, this building, though, we have to keep open during the renovation. And this is where the pain really starts. We have to phase it. So on these lower levels that are below grade, we're going to work on the west half while the students are still using the east half. And at one point, we'll flip it. And then we're going to be doing work on the main level when students are still coming in on the main level. And it needs all new mechanical systems for HVAC ventilation reasons. And this renovation will start. I should have been telling you when the other ones were going to start, or maybe it was on the slides. And McKissick and Barnwell will both start about a year from now and take until fall of 28. This guy, though, we plan to start first quarter of 27, and this could take 5 years to get through. It's because we just have to do this in these phases. But the main thing that I want to try to achieve here is where we do have access to windows, I want to give as much of that as possible back to the students by removing stacks or at least lowering stacks so they're maybe only this tall rather than 8 feet or so, and taking some of the administrative back of house areas and turning those over to student study spaces where you have the windows. So all of these projects are going from what we call schematic design to design development right now. McBride replacement. This is a big one. And this one is going to start, you're going to start to see the demolition of McBride probably in March. McBride is built in 1955. It's absolutely tired. I have run into no one that is nostalgic about replacing McBride. In fact, some of the people that live there, I know one person that lived there the first year it opened in 55. Even he doesn't have nostalgia for it. Mr. Hubbard lived here in the 70s when they were doing that library project. He tells these great stories of McBride had no air conditioning, so they had to leave the windows open. But they were pounding the footings in for the library expansion, kicking up dust. He said there's always dust in the rooms. He can't wait to see McBride go. So McBride has about 260 beds. It's the residence hall you get when you don't reserve your spot in any other residence hall and you procrastinate, you end up in McBride. We're going to triple really what McBride would be with the 6-story building. It tries to pull some cues from the mid-century modern district. So you see, this is McBride, the McBride replacement right here. It's going to be much taller, and you see how it kind of wraps around the library, much like the original McBride footprint used to do. But then in the middle, we're going to lower it so that Hollings has a view to Blossom. And from Blossom, you can see Hollings, which has been an idea ever since Holland was built. We knew one day McBride would go away, and we wanted to open up an axis of view. Also, as part of this project, we're going to do the last wing of the Honors College right on the corner of Sumter and Blossom. We're going to be closing Sumter Street between Blossom and Green during this renovation, so the contractor has some place to lay something down and park a few pickup trucks. And right now, to manage these expectations, we want to see how vehicles and people start to move around while that street is closed. Now, it'll be open for students to walk on some of the sidewalks to get to Honors College, whether we live in Coker, of course. But if vehicles can adapt to that street being closed, who knows, we may not reopen it either when the project is finished in the fall of 28. I'll finish up here with the health sciences campus. What can I say? It's absolutely the most ambitious undertaking the university's ever done. It started with this idea that we take 16 acres and we do a new school of medicine. That's under construction. I've got some images to show you in a moment. But we planned the whole campus for subsequent buildings. Meanwhile, then, the state gave us $30 million to renovate an old medical office building and make this the Brain Health Center. This is under construction. It'll be finished in March of 26. The med school is on track to be complete fall of 27. And then as if all that wasn't enough, this idea came that we should construct a hospital for neurological clinical care and create a rehabilitation center that's going to be state of the art, as good as anything you'll see in the Southeast. And we just selected an architect, and that one's on the schedule probably to open in about 4 years. Picked a world-class architect that does work all over the world, specializing in neurological hospitals. So we're really going to make a name for ourselves here at this health sciences campus. So this was the original master plan, the first building there being that salmon color, and then B, C, D, and E coming as future buildings. But the right-hand side of that plan now will be completely changed as a result of the hospital coming into the picture. So we're getting near to having, we're calling a topping out ceremony. On December 17th, the last beam of the med school will be set. It's kind of a ceremonial thing. It's a long-standing tradition. When that last beam gets put in place and everyone signs the beam, and but the workers all get a barbecue lunch out of it. And they listen to speeches from people like the owner of the construction company and probably me. But this one is in budget and on schedule. So, and here's just a few of the renderings of the School of Medicine. This is from across that park, as if you were sort of above the Sager Stadium, looking towards the east. And a courtyard space that's reminiscent of the courtyards we have on the main campus, like the Horseshoe, Gibbs Green, all these places where we have outdoor space that's framed by buildings. It's all we use buildings very strategically to create good outdoor spaces, because it's those outdoor spaces that really make a campus, not the buildings. And here's Brain Health. This one's interesting just in that we took this tired old brick office building from 1975 and tore the skin off about 60% of it. And we're coming back to limestone and curtain wall glazing and an addition that's going to have MRI scanners, the absolute state-of-the-art, what they call Tesla 7, got the highest resolution of any MRI scanner out there. And we're going to have one. So, phenomenal. I think that is it. Okay, so I'm happy to answer questions, and that's about time. I think that's it. Questions that are not parking related? Good question. No, not really.
For personal reasons.
Yeah, and I understand that. We're working with another master planner that specializes in opportunities like our Main Street, and to look at really about 4 blocks, of which Burns is just one of those 4. They're going to come back to us and recommend what they think is the highest and best use of those different blocks. This is very, very valuable property. The foundation had to pay pretty dearly to get some of these tracts. So whatever we do is going to reflect our needs, and it's going to be there to benefit the campus and our students, but it's also got to generate enough revenue to support it. That's why student housing is kind of an easy one. But we also want market rate housing because, you see, if you do those things on Main Street I talked about, like barbershop and a convenience store, or even a Chick-fil-A probably, it does pretty good 9 months out of the year, but in the summer, those places will die. So we have to get year-round activation, year-round to inhabit it year-round. That means you have housing for people like us if we wanted to live downtown, or it might be a hotel on Main Street that people would come to 12 months out of the year. So it's very important. The Burns site is caught up in that planning. Look, off the record, I don't see Burns being demolished for 3 or 4 years at least, maybe a little more. You really got to think about Main Street as sort of the long game. It's going to take 5, 10, 15 years to build this out. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Anthony Brown, Division of IT. With me in some sort of fashion, Nathan and everything else we've been working on. I was curious in terms of the library, when that is getting scoped out for those sites being done, what are we doing with the staff personnel that are working at those locations as first, second, third, fourth, fifth are getting renovated during that projection? Like, do we have places where we're taking those displaced people and working?
Yeah, so we're working with the dean and Tim Harman, if you know Tim, but it's still a work in process, but generally what we're going to do is we're going to move the staff to the side that is active, that's not affected by the renovations. When we're working on the west side, if there's any staff on the west side, we're going to move them to the east side and vice versa. And that's what we're really doing right now is we're trying to plan this swing space. We're looking at a couple of floors in Burns to use as swing space for psychology. We don't have enough swing space for everybody, so it's going to get a little tense because there might even have to be some hybrid working for the year and a half or so that those buildings are under renovation. But we're only in schematic design on the library, so that swing space is the next thing that we're going to try to solve. Okay. What's the state of the IT in that building? Because I think you've updated the Wi-Fi, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, all Wi-Fi has been updated. We're currently working on moving C2C.
They did the wiring, this past spring, for the Wi-Fi.
That's what I thought. I thought that wasn't as dark. I needed some other things, but I know all about the tech zone and trying to get that situated. That's been a difficult problem. That's some other question. Yes, sir.
Are there any plans for the Rutledge building on Senate Street?
So, yes, immediately, not as immediate as I'd like. What we went to the market recently with what we call a request for proposals for developers that wanted to come back and lease that building from us and renovate it on their dime. And we told them we wanted it to be market rate housing. We wanted to get more people living downtown. The city of Columbia wants to see that. The mayor wants to see that. So we put forth certain requirements, but we tried to keep it flexible enough that developers would be attracted to it. We got some offers. They are to share revenue with the university. So they'll pay us rent. We would be the landlord. They'd be like a tenant, and they'd invest $50 million probably renovating this building. And they would collect the rent from people who live there, and then they have to share a little bit of that with us. We had interest, but so far the interest has not been compelling enough for us financially. So our plan is to put out another RFP in the summer and try to take another swing at it. But that one's exciting. It would be amazing. I've been up on the roof of that building now many times. I can tell you that the views from that building are extraordinary. So I think it would be a great residential site. But projects like this are complicated, and sometimes stars just have to line up. It just has to, sometimes everything has to come together at the right moment in time. But I don't expect it to take 120 years. Yes.
Was there an ideal timeline for Russell House? I didn't see a date or an execution time. I know.
Yeah.
The student demands increase. Eventually, there will be a bigger space. So.
Yeah. You're right. It's been a high priority for the student government for years. We've got studies on the shelf, and what always seems to happen is that once the realization is that we need $200-300 million to renovate or replace that building, and that's going to likely involve a student fee and debt, and that's where we kind of run into a roadblock. I sense, though, that its time is coming around now as we get these other projects moving, like the hospital and all these renovations. And I didn't even mention Williams-Brice Stadium. I don't really have any great images yet of Williams-Brice Stadium, which is why I didn't share it. But I will, I'm sure, next year. But you're gonna probably hear about the Russell House in 2026 and what are some ideas. The most difficult thing about the Russell House is this: if you demolish that building and replace it, that's a 2 or 2.5 year project. Where do you feed the students during those 2.5 years? And we've never been able to figure out a solution to feed 8,000 freshmen elsewhere on campus. So then you can say, well, all right, we'll leave part of it in place. We'll take down maybe the west wing, the oldest part, and replace it with a bigger footprint. We'll do it that way. And that might be what we ultimately do, but it's just really, really tough to take the Russell House out of play, to either renovate it, replace it, tear down part, add on to it, but it has to be done. There has been no expansion of the Russell House since 1975. Yes.
Vice President Reed, first of all, thank you for returning to share what I'm sure are just the highlights of a very complex plan. I'm curious, when you're looking at those buildings that are really shared spaces for students, faculty, and staff, like Barnwell, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of the priorities are, as you mentioned, adding more classroom spaces, study spaces for students. In order to do that in buildings like that, are there going to be other aspects of those buildings that we're losing in order to prioritize that, or how is that kind of working?
In Barnwell, I can actually say you're really not losing much of anything. That building has not been really renovated since the 1980s after the fire, and they came back and kind of chopped it up like you would to teach education and psychology then, and things have changed so much. What they desperately need is more faculty offices. And I didn't mention it, but they're getting something like 90 faculty offices out of this renovation. So there really are no losers with Barnwell. McKissick, the galleries are being supplemented and replaced by classrooms. And you know, I love art. I go to the galleries. I was in the galleries last week, and I think it was 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. There wasn't a soul in the galleries. It's really depressing when you go in. Like, when was the last time any of you guys were on the second floor of McKissick?
3 years ago.
It just feels there's no energy there. It just so McKissick's collections that are stored in the back house areas, which really don't even have that good of HVAC and environmental control. We're going to move those to a better archival building on Senate Street, renovate the building, and then I want to bring a lot of exhibit space back into the building. So when you're just walking around public spaces, you're seeing the art. So some pure curators might say, well, yeah, but we lost our galleries and it's harder to secure the art and you can't pull together a cohesive show. So that is a trade-off there. I would grant you that. But everything else is going to be really just the struggle of getting through the renovations in 27, 28. And you're going to be walking around construction fences. You're going to hear noise. There's going to be dust. There's contractors going to be everywhere. It's going to be difficult, but we're working with communications to try to get consistency in the site signage. You know how to get around the sites. I want to see consistent contractors, fences, consistent signage, so that it does look like all of this is tied together. You know, that try and make this as a positive thing as possible. That hey, we're really growing this campus and making USC better.
One more
So
question.
I got one last one. What are we looking at in terms of thinking about storage for everybody? I feel like I fight often about trying to get secured spaces on campus. I know I'm not the only one. I've stolen stuff from SciTech, from their spaces, and now I'm using biomass from these other facilities.
Yeah.
But I'm not the only one looking for spots. I have to push off the president sometimes just so I can get a spot so I can get stuff in the location between furniture and everything else we have to be able to function. Are we looking at that in terms of future growth, and what are we doing to help with staging of all that different equipment and stuff that as we're trying to move forward, especially as we're trying to grow our university?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Science and Technology Building has a whole floor still in the west tower, as you probably know, and about half of the top floor. We're starting to use that for storage. But one day that'll be renovated as well. But right now, that's a really pretty good site for storage. You know, which going back to McKissick just for a moment, there became this realization that we are storing the McKissick collection there. And tens of thousands, about I think it was about 15,000 square feet was there just for storage. But here's our most prominent building in the middle of campus, and we're using it as a storage facility. Just, you know, it's just not right. But I say that to illustrate the point, though, that the core of the campus has to be for the highest and best uses. And so while there always needs to be some small spaces for storage, we just can't be thinking that in the core of the campus is going to be big storage areas. We're going to have to look to the periphery as we keep growing and letting in more students. It's just,
Well, to me, that one thing we were talking about was that Wi-Fi remediation project. So I mean, we spend millions and millions of dollars on that, and I've got $16 million of inventory I need to store somewhere. And then I have to like try and sort that amongst campus. I still need to be able to distribute or have distribution centers where I can distribute that stuff to be able to function.
yeah.
That's why I'm just curious, mainly because, I mean, this is definitely me being like focused on what I do, but I feel like that's something that I need to make sure that I address with you as being a focus, because I think it's, I know I'm not the only one fighting for that space, so.
Right. Well, we work closely with DoIT to both for the IT planning and the AV planning, but storage space is getting difficult because as soon as you make a storage room, then the department usually changes it into an office or a conference room, and it's taken away from you. But there's always the option of doing off-site storage where we just have to lease a building and store things there. That's just, we just have to just recognize now that the real estate in the core of our campus has to be so optimized that certain things that may have resided there for decades just are getting pushed up. Okay. All right. One quick one.
Sorry. So with all of the, new students playing in students, new housing for students, places, obviously there's gonna have to be more staff. Where are staff gonna go?
Housing.
What buildings are gonna be renovated to make room for staff to support the students?
Yeah, I think that office space is now our greatest need. Communicated that.
To CTZ, by the way.
Okay.
So I'm a front facing department and I
think that offices, both for faculty and staff, are going to become our most critical need. And the space might find its way into the Burns site some manner or another. I do think we need to be thinking about offices in a little bit more forward 21st century approach. Faculty doesn't like to hear that because they know what that means is open collaborative workspaces instead of all private offices. But I think it's a valid question. I mean, with CTZ, we're moving CTZ again.
Get that because of them.
Yeah.
But the staff need support too. And
I know with Nathan.
Safe places to work where it's not raining on your head. I mean,
Yeah, right. And that's why we're moving up to the 5th level. We put up with that long enough, but.
Area that, I mean, there are other areas in other buildings where staff are, where there are just as bad issues that, again, aren't getting addressed for the safety of the staff.
Yeah, I don't disagree. There are some tough areas on campus. I think where CTZ is going to end up on level 5 is going to be workable. And we just have to keep looking for opportunities for offices. Look, I mean, most of these renovation projects, we're adding a lot of offices in McKissick and Barnwell, and just have to not forget that we need offices for faculty and staff. But I do feel like there's pressure building to, at some point in the future, maybe that a building will be focused very much on just offices, and that'll be its primary mission.
Some of that office space could be addressed if you let the employees do remote.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for our guests. We appreciate your time and your expertise, and especially kind of seeing how not only the Alumni Association worked with us, but also where our campus is headed. We now have time for our committee reports, just to give an update if you happen to have one. And of course, that starts with membership. Come on down.
Okay, a couple of quick things. All right, as we mentioned earlier during our meeting in November, we met with a couple of the executive board members from the University of Kentucky to talk about best practices in their membership. They've been established for many years. So we learned a lot from them. I think we're ready to use a lot of the information that we have gathered over the last few months to make some decisions about whether changes are necessary to our membership. So in our coming meeting, we'll be discussing kind of a deep dive into that. And then as Chris mentioned, we will see information regarding executive officer positions and elections in January. We'll have some information sessions with the current executive officers. We'll do those virtually. There'll be some Q&A opportunities, so be on the lookout for that. Questions? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And next up, we have communications.
I think we did show these at the last meeting as well, but these have been distributed there's a Microsoft Teams channel for digital display managers, and I also sent it out to the main communications contacts with central communications to share that way as well. So you should hopefully be seeing those on digital displays around campus. Just today, I actually uploaded ones also for Staff Appreciation Day. So those should also be out there, and we can update those when we have more information or ways to RSVP. That was the main point that I had today. We spent a lot of our last meeting talking about kind of our communications committee charter. Do you have anything else to add?
No, we can wait till next month.
Okay, that sounds great. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, policy and well-being.
Okay, so we compiled together the policy lists, have submitted that to exec members to review, just to highlight. There are roughly 105 policies that have somehow either address or touch on staff in some way. So that project is rolling. Our meeting, we have changed that. Our last for the semester will be December 16th from 3 to 4. We have sent an update about that to subcommittee and exec members. And right now we're just finalizing the spring 26 dates just to make sure we're not running into any other calendar events happening. So we'll get those as well on the books. The leave transfer policy has been revised to only allow 3 leave requests per illness. In that policy, there are exceptions to that rule.
On the Bright Horizons front, we finally did make contact with the regional manager, so that's Brittany Thompson. So we're working with her on seeing if she and Tasha are available to come to one of our committee meetings. If not, we might do kind of a separate meeting with the 2 of them and myself and Caroline. So we're working the details out on that. And then we kind of took our last general body meeting and reviewed a little bit from some of the parking concerns that Brian was bringing up. And so Senator McAllister's starting to do some research in that area with what some of the other universities are doing in the area and how they're kind of handling parking issues, and just kind of brainstorming some ways of, could we potentially do discounts for people carpooling and things like that. So just kind of getting some bullet points there. Anybody have questions on any of those items? Thank you.
Professional development.
Hey, y'all, good afternoon. So the first thing I wanted to say is I have a little clarification from last time. We mentioned some AI learning circles that was being hosted by the Office of Professional Development. But since saying that we have learned that there are new AI educators here on campus, and they're going to actually be championing AI champions across campus to build that AI training for our staff and faculty members. So if you're interested in being an AI champion, not participating in the learning circle, let me or Brett know and we can get you hooked up. We're also in the process of developing a survey for you guys to kind of help us determine what professional development opportunities exist within your areas and see how we can cross collaborate and get everyone involved. We will have a representative from continuing education and conferences joining our next PD committee meeting in December to discuss those potential PD opportunities there. Our members are working on inclusive professional development opportunities and exploring non-traditional communication channels. So we're reaching out to folks within different areas, different units to determine the best way to communicate with folks who are not behind their computers all day and really get all of our staff represented. And then finally, our next committee meeting is December 16th, 2 to 3 via Teams. So if you want to join, let me know. I can send you that link. Any questions? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Community projects.
First of all, thank y'all so much for the Families Helping Families gifts. We are so excited we fulfilled all of the wishes, and so thank y'all very, very much. And thank you for those that have already dropped them off at our office. I was actually going around the office last week and look at the cute uniform with the PJs. It's so cute. But thank y'all. I will be going around to, I think, Burns tomorrow to pick up some gifts. So if you have anything that you'd like for me to come around campus, come get that from you. Tomorrow at 1600 Hampton, we will be wrapping gifts on the 7th floor. If you'd like to join, please join us. We'll be there between 2 and 4. And if we have to roll over to Thursday, we can definitely do that as well.
And if you want to keep wrapping gifts, Dorenzo has set up a great opportunity next week. You can wrap gifts for Salvation Army. So that's going to be next December 15th through the 19th. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Leadership and Service Center. And we have a link to sign up for that on our link tree that Chris shared earlier. And then you can also just email Dorenzo and let him know if you would like to join for that as well. And thank you again to Dorenzo for leading our great trash pickup and for everybody that came out to that. Apparently you guys like a Wednesday lunchtime frame, so we might look into doing more of those. So thanks again for that. And then you guys be on the lookout for a survey. We're going to have very short email survey just to find out some different volunteer opportunities that you guys are interested in. We'll have a deadline in January to complete that, just to give us an idea of some good spring opportunities we can plan for you guys.
Awesome. Any questions? Thank you very much. Body Hall.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all to the committee chairs who filled out the committee review form. So for everyone in the body, every committee was charged by their chairs to review your committee description and the bylaws. We asked, hey, do you feel like this is in alignment with how you're contributing or servicing the staff senate? So we forwarded that information to the executive committee. They reviewed that. And moving forward, we'll be sending out an email because I'm sure you all heard there are some committees who would like to amend some of the verbiage or language. So we're going to have some exciting meetings upcoming for the staff senate because we may have some actual amendments and voting happening. So that's the big project we have going on. Very excited about that. Sounds like that's been a while that's been reviewed. And it's exciting also to hear that people are looking at operational procedures. And that's one of the things we learned in one of our previous meetings. Like you have the bylaws, but then thinking about your operational procedures within your committees and how you move forward with that. So looking forward to the spring when it comes to that. Now, we also are looking at collaborating with the membership committee on some exciting things when it comes to nominations and elections. So I know they're going to be meeting with us soon, and we'll probably have some exciting ideas coming up for the spring and how we can collaborate and make sure we're all on the same page about just different bylaws and making sure as people are nominated for the staff senate that they're learning about what that responsibility is, possibly before our summer meeting. So looking forward to that. And then we were supposed to meet this Thursday, but our meeting has changed to December 18th at 2 p.m. on Teams. So it's no longer this Thursday. It's now December 18th. And of course, what would a report be without some bylaw education? So, and this is actually something we need to know. What proportion of senators present must approve a bylaw amendment for it to pass? I think I heard it.
2/3.
That is correct. Thank y'all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Staff appreciation and recognition.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully everybody's received the save the date for May 14, 2026. The committee did meet today. I did not get to go. We were busy in the ticket office today, but we did do a walkthrough at the Russell House with Aramark to discuss the layout and the mapping plan for how things will go for May 14th. Senator Shelton, in his absence, did send some notes. Our next meeting is January 7th. So we'll start tackling logistics and create tasks lists. So when we send something out, if you would like to volunteer, please sign up. We do need your help. But more information is to come.
And of course, our last but not least committee, scholarship and fundraising.
As Chris mentioned earlier, we had a successful cornhole tournament a few weeks ago. After the cost of renting the field, which was an unexpected cost because we had to move locations, we raised $215. We learned a lot. And we hope to make this an annual event and grow it. Never put on a cornhole tournament before, so it was a lot of fun. And we had some really great prizes. Our committee really came through with the prizes. So I think the attendees were happy. Everybody ended up getting prizes because there were just enough prizes for everyone.
And next week, we're going to meet to explore different ideas for next year for some more fundraising activities. So
if you have ideas, yeah, if you have ideas, email us, come to our meeting. It's next Wednesday at 3, I think. Yes. All right. Great.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will tell you all, if you did not know, cornhole has many, many, many rules if you want to officially play. Just for chunking it in there's so much more to it than that. I was totally shocked. There is no new business, so any announcements are good of the order from the body? Any announcements are good of the order? Good for the order. Please remember, we want you to continue to connect, empower, and lead as a staff senator, and we're going to hopefully do everything in our power as executive committee and committee chairs to help you do so. So please reach out to any of us if you have any ideas, especially as we are looking to, and I almost gasped, the new year, that we're already a semester under our belts. And for any of you involved in next Monday's graduation, we'll be thinking of you because I know that's a huge undertaking even for the December one, which is smaller. And so we appreciate that. And before we adjourn, the executive committee and I hope you all have a wonderful break and do whatever it is that you do, which hopefully will not involve email or anything work related, because I know when the university closes, it is the best time of the year than any other time of the year. And we look forward to seeing everybody hopefully refreshed in 2026 when we come back together at our January meeting. I will be traveling at that meeting, so Vice President Reed will be presiding, and so she is very, very excited to do that, and so we look forward to that. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? All right, Senator Brown, thank you. Is there a second? Senator Harman, and I see your hand, but I can't see your nameplate. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can see you. With a third by Senator Meade, thank you so much. Because up here, I'm like, oh my gosh, all the faces look the same. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Any opposed? Then we stand adjourned until January. I see these from the Alumni Center. If you want any, have a great day. Thank you so much. I'll put them